Welcome, everybody, to the March 13th, 2025 meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023 extending certain COVID measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 842 pound, or join the meeting online via the link in the posted agenda. This is a live meeting and simulcast on Chatham TV, but despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. I'd ask you at this time to shut off any objects that make any sort of noise, if you would. And we start proceedings with a roll call vote of all members, and then we ask that anybody participating on a call only just provide the last 4 digits of their phone number and for identification purposes. Our notices read by our staff, Sarah Clark on my right, and the representative, whether it's you or somebody you hire, will present your appeal or application. After that, anyone in favor of the application can speak for up to 5 minutes, and then I will read or summarize all the letters that we receive. We'd ask that if you wrote a letter and you're here to talk, you just pick. You can either talk or I can read your letter. Please, let us know if you've done both. Then anyone against the appeal or application may ask questions and have up to 5 minutes to express their dismay. The applicant may then rebut testimony. Board members may direct questions to anyone present. We will hear any further information, close the public hearing, deliberate, and once we close the public hearing, there'll be no added commentary from anybody unless for some reason we voted you back in, which is unlikely. We'll close the public hearing, deliberate, we vote on the appeal or application most of the time, unless it's withdrawn. And all votes are taken by roll call, and at the end of the meeting, we will close via verbal confirmation and note the time of adjournment. So we'll start with a roll call of all board members, starting with Dave Veach.
Yes, David H. Veach, and I approve of this format.
Thank you.
Ed Acton, I approve.
David S. Nixon, I approve.
Paul C. Semple, I approve.
Lee Hovey, I approve.
Stephen D. DeBoer, and I approve.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
And Randy Potash, I approve as well. So voting today is going to be David Veach, Edward Acton, Paul Semple, and for one of the applications, Lee Hovey, and Steve DeBoer will be a voter, and so will Virginia Fenwick. We all deliberate and we all give our opinions, but only 5 can vote. So next, do we have meeting minutes from February 13th, Paul?
I'll move to approve the minutes of February 13, 2025 as published.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Do we have any comments? Does anybody have any note changes? No, very good. Ed?
Ed Acton votes yes.
And Paul?
All votes yes.
Steve?
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Very good. That's unanimous. First application, 186 Strong Island Road, Judith and David Doigno of 30 Mount Vernon Street in Boston.
Application number 25-002, Judith and David Doigno, 30 Mount Vernon Street, Boston, Mass. 02108. Owners of property located at 186 Strong Island Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13M, Block 45, Lot C48. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the construction of an addition. The existing dwelling is non-conforming and that it is located 14.1 feet from the easterly abutter and within the Coastal Conservancy District, floodplain elevation 11. The proposed addition will be non-conforming, and that it will be located within the Coastal Conservancy District where a 50-foot setback is required. Also proposed is the installation of a swimming pool as allowed by special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,705 square feet, 23.8%, and the proposed building coverage is 1,838 square feet, 25.6%, where 15%, but not more than 2,800 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 7,177 square feet of buildable upland, where 20,000 square feet is required, and contains 33,080 square feet of land area, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D to be of the protective bylaw.
Mr. Doino, I presume, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing us today. My name is David Doino. My wife Judy and I own 186 Strong Island Road, and we're seeking a special permit for the expansion of a garage, expansion of a patio, and the addition of a swimming pool. As you noted, our lot is non-conforming. It was conforming when it was built, and then the rules changed, and now it's non-conforming. And we are close to the water. We're facing Pleasant Bay, and we seek to build within the 100-foot line. We think that the size of our site is adequate for the modest work that we want to do. We do think it's compatible with the neighborhood, with neighbors' properties, and with the existing structure. The non-conforming expansion is pretty minimal. We're trying to keep everything kind of, the building expansion is within the size of the existing decks, and the patio is just reaching out towards the water to try to catch some sun, because we are facing north, and we do think that we have no impact on neighboring properties. We don't expect runoff or groundwater problems or any impact on the slope or vegetation. We do have another permit in front of conservation where we're actually working to rehabilitate some of the wild areas that are on our property. So we think we're making improvements with that regard, and that aspect of the property is in front of conservation. We think we're maintaining the a proper mass and proper visual character of the neighborhood and the existing building. We're not affecting other people's views or vistas. As I mentioned, this is a residential neighborhood, and this is a residential use. We are not making any changes to sewage disposal or the source of our water, drainage. We don't have an effect on our current utilities or other public services. We will not be making noise or litter, and we will not be affecting traffic flow or safety in the neighborhood or during the course of the project. We think that this will be have a pleasing visual impact on the neighborhood. And as far as we know, our neighbors are supportive of what we want to do. The lot is in the floodplain, and this expansion of the garage will necessarily pierce that 11-foot line, AE 11-foot line, and so be in the floodplain. Basically the house was built with a garage, but it doesn't fit a car. The garage is 14 feet deep, and I haven't found a car that small. So we're trying to expand it by 6.5 feet roughly, and that pierces that 11-foot line in order to do that. But it remains under an existing deck and doesn't really look like an expansion of the building from the road.
Okay, is that your presentation?
Yes.
All right, very good. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Please indicate. Don't see anybody here or on Microsoft Teams. We have two correspondences, one from the Conservation Commission and one from the health agent. So on 3/11/2025, we have a note from Judith Giorgio, the health agent, that says, "I have reviewed the plan to add a small garage, decks, and pool to this property. No additional flow is proposed, and the existing septic system meets the setback requirements to the proposed pool. I have no concerns." The Conservation Commission wrote to us on March 4th, 2025, said a notice of intent was submitted on February 11th. It was heard on February 26th, continued to March 26, 2025, to review revised plans showing requested changes to determine if the project can be conditioned to meet the performance standards of the Wetland Protection Act. So that's not resolved yet, apparently.
That's correct. There's a requirement that we didn't understand that impermeable structure be 35% or less within this 50 to 100 foot boundary. And the proposed project was 36.5% impermeable surface. Impermeable is, even though it's patio that is permeable, or it's shell driveway that's permeable, it's called impermeable.
Yeah.
For their purposes. And we have a revised drawing that cuts back part of the patio and part of the driveway that will bring us within that 35% thing. And that's what they will hear on March 26th.
Okay, we may ask you more questions on that down the road, but for now, thank you. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? Now's the time. Seeing none. Questions from the board. Virginia Fenwick.
Yes, I have a couple of questions for you. You talked about the garage addition piercing the floodplain, but you didn't mention the swimming pool. Is the swimming pool, looks like it's entirely in the floodplain, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. How deep, I know the dimensions of the pool, I believe they were 8 by 18. What's
Correct.
the depth of the pool?
About 4.5 feet.
So will you have to excavate it all to get that? How are you, or is it going to be above?
We will dig down, and the net result will be like an 18-inch high wall on the patio, in the confines of the patio as drawn on that, drawn on that drawing.
Okay, I'm not an expert on this, but I didn't think that you could disturb, did that come up at conservation? Disturb, I don't think you can excavate or disturb in a floodplain, is that?
We did talk about the pool and its dimensions at length, but it's basically, it's almost 100% contained. I think it is 100% contained within what is existing garden beds and existing patio. So they weren't concerned. It's not affecting a resource.
Okay, was there any discussion in your discovery of building the pool? I've heard of this concept called an under drain that helps with the drainage in a floodplain. Is that something that you considered or are familiar with?
I'm not familiar with. They did ask us to have a dry well constructed so that if we need to drain off the pool, we have a place that can hold the water. But also, the land is all sand pretty much where we're located, and there's a natural swale between the house and the dune and then the beach, so we can't really conceive of any water running off the property.
Okay, one last question. I did listen to the conservation hearing, and there was mention of a boardwalk. I don't know that that's not something that I saw in our write-up, but is that part of this 35% mitigation that you're talking about? Because I didn't think they liked that boardwalk.
I think we do count it as part of the 35%. We have two existing pathways
Yeah.
to the beach, but we're also elevated above the beach. There's a stretch of Pleasant Bay there that kind of runs from Eastward Ho and around the corner towards Riders Cove, if you guys are familiar with the Perfect Couple home. It turns out, we surveyed 4 conservation and 4 Blue Flax, who's our representative there. It turns out we're the only property without any sort of staircase or steps. What we're proposing is something that's removable. There's a rollout thing just to sort of protect the dune and the area that the grassland that we're trying to restore. And in the other steeper case, a small set of stairs that, again, are removable. But I do believe they're counted as part of that 35%.
So are the, I didn't see anything in our packet about the stairs and the boardwalk, so is that not before
I
us?
think that was presented to conservation, and I'm not sure if it should be part of this
Okay, maybe
presentation.
we can, okay.
So it's temporary structure, and
Yeah.
it allows us to get down to the beach.
So the
Right,
stairs, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we're right next to the public landing, and there is a well-worn path that the public has made across the property and down the sand hill. And we're trying to, it's not that we're trying to restrict people's enjoyment of the beach, but we are trying to restrict erosion and make it a safer travel path. Both Judy and I are fortunate enough to have our mothers with us, and neither one of them can get to the beach.
So is your boardwalk, you're expecting it to run from where I see this new path to beach on your rendering here? Will it go from there across the
Are we able to
yard?
put the drawing up and then?
So it'll go across the yard, over the dune?
If I may, the boardwalk is not part of this application, correct?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, you'd have to file another application for that. So, is that correct, Mr. Building Commissioner?
That's correct.
Okay, so do you still want to talk about it?
Nope, I thought it was part of this, I was wondering why we didn't have anything on it.
Right,
So,
right,
okay.
yeah.
It should be, I guess, if it's not, but,
We can't just magically
yeah.
make it.
Okay, all right, well, enough about the boardwalk for
Yeah.
now. That's all I had, thank you.
Steve
I have no questions.
and Lee?
My only question, maybe for Sarah or Jay, is we don't normally get swimming pools. Is there a reason why we have this one coming before us to approve?
Well, it's part of their application, and it's located in the floodplain.
So the floodplain is the,
I mean, we're looking at the whole application, you know, the addition on the garage, and then the expansion of the patio, and the introduction of the pool.
okay.
And I would add, that's accurate, we don't get a lot, and I actually asked Sarah to print out how many we've had, and I'll let her sort of explain, if, it's probably a good time for that, what we've had and what we've done.
So we maintain a spreadsheet of all applications that have come to the board. Since 2017, we've received 9 applications, of which 7 were granted and 2 withdrew. 6 of those were in a coastal flood zone, and 1 was in an inland conservancy district.
Okay, thank you. So it's basically, I mean,
Thank you.
it's basically because it's in a flood zone, why we're having to approve it. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And Paul, questions?
Yeah, one question I have is, when do you plan to do this work?
This year.
One of the concerns I have is that when I was out there to look at the property, there was a lot of construction vehicles and so forth on the road. And the area that is really the property around the house itself was covered with vans. When you were in here for approval 2 years ago, one of the issues was the question of construction vehicles and so forth being on the property or on neighboring property with permission of the owners. because we have a problem on Strong Island Road and on other roads where that creates a hazard for traffic and so forth. So I was a little disappointed to find that, because we imposed a restriction saying that construction vehicles would be restricted to the property and on no green properties, but that doesn't seem to be what's happening. What do you expect that you can do about that in the future?
Well, I think the guys have been very respectful of where they're trying to park. But you're right, there are a lot of vehicles, a lot of people coming and going. We fill the driveway, and then we make use of the side of the road along our property. I'm not aware of any hazards that they've created, but
Well, the thing that disappointed me was that we had a specific discussion about that in connection with the prior special permit approvals, and imposed a restriction saying that that should not be happening. So I wanted to make you aware of that.
okay.
I don't have any other questions.
David Nixon. Questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe this is the third time you've appeared in front of us, is that correct? And when people come back repeatedly, the first question is, well, why didn't you think of this to begin with? You know, why you're doing this? And more importantly, what's next? Because it doesn't seem to be an end. And so in your case, I might suggest that that pier you're thinking about building, you might want to talk to Mr. Cashman about what happened to him when he came in front of us, because it didn't work. But what I'm trying to say is, I hope this is it.
It does sound like we have one more with regard to a boardwalk. So we are learning as we're going. The first visit here was for a rebuild of the deck, and that we needed to make a second visit for a side deck. Now this is the kind of completion of this project. We were in a big hurry previously when we came to visit you because we had our daughter's wedding. We were desperate to get the house in better shape than it had been. But thankfully, all that went beautifully, and now we're here just kind of trying to finish off the project. So I understand your concern. And no, we're not trying to build a pier out into the bay.
Okay, Ed, questions?
Sorry. Just to sort of build on what David said, because you've been here twice, and every time you keep increasing the lot coverage, so it sort of keeps building and building. So I would just say, yeah, I don't think if you were to come back again, we would, certainly I wouldn't, want to see any further increase, because you're already over the 15%, and you're creeping up close to the 2,800, but other than that, I have no questions.
Okay, David Beach, questions?
No, I have no I have no questions. Well, actually, so, yeah, I'll phrase a question. I did see Mr. Dornell when I went to visit the project, and he pointed out to me that he couldn't fit his car in the garage as had been constructed. So do you think they must, originally, you didn't have the house built originally, right? So originally, I guess they thought they would store small craft in there and not cars or something. What do you think?
I think that's possible, or they redid the interior along the way. I'm not quite sure. But the
that's possible.
home heating system extends, into that, far enough on that ground floor level that it would be a very bad idea, I think, to make a garage all the way across that area.
Okay, I don't have any other questions, almost. Thanks.
So my question is, and you're going to think it's rude, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't mean it as rude, but you have the Atlantic Ocean in your backyard and you want a pool. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, especially where it's in a flood zone, and, you know, I'm not a big fan of pools in the flood zone, but lucky for you, I'm not voting. But, you know, I just wonder why you need, and it's not the biggest pool in the world, but can you comment on the size of the pool and your thoughts on that?
Yeah. The idea is, I guess what they call a plunge pool or something like that. It's something that we hope to use to extend the season at the house earlier in the spring and later in the fall, because it can be used heated for much longer over the course of the year than we can use the water itself. That's the main idea. I think it'll be pretty, and I think it'll be comfortable for kids and grandmothers.
Yeah, no, that sounds like I want to come over if you heat it, but, all right, so, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed Acton votes yes.
All votes yes.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
All right, very good. So deliberations, we'll start with Steve.
Well, I think it's a very nice project. It looks like it's been going on for a while because there's something going on in every corner of that house, I think.
We're re-siding, and
There's a lot
we had
going
to
on.
replace the windows, and the doors were all leaking at this house.
I spoke to the plumbers yesterday, so there's a lot, but it's going to be very, very nice someday, and I wish you luck.
Thank you.
Yep. David Nixon, deliberations.
I really have no comments.
No?
Nope,
Okay.
nope.
Ed, deliberations?
The only thing I would say is usually we prefer to have conservation come back to us and have some type of, you know, recommendation or some type of feeling on which way they're going. And we sort of don't have that yet. Although I feel comfortable with your explanation regarding getting under the 35%, but typically we would, you know, want to have some type of guidance from conservation regarding, usually I think the language is, they see it as a permitted project, and we don't have that here, so I don't know how the other board members feel.
Let's go to Paul on that. Paul, yeah, what do you think?
Well, I had somewhat the same reaction, and given that I think probably Mr. Dono did not realize that the work he's talking about with respect to the staircase and the fact that it's removable and so forth is an issue that comes before us and would require another filing, that it makes more sense to hold off on this until we hear from Conservation, and perhaps he has the ability to amend his special permit application or submit a new application that would include what needs to be done, so that it is in fact the last application for this property before us.
Okay, so you're leaning towards that we should wait.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What do you think, Jenny? Just on that one, let's resolve that issue.
Yeah, I think that that's, it's a valid point, and I think that that would be helpful to look at the whole project comprehensively.
And find out that it's permittable?
Yeah.
What do you think, Mr. Nixon?
Absolutely.
And Mr. Veach?
Yeah, this seems to make sense to me. You know, especially, and it might be beneficial to a certain extent to the applicant to be able to fold it all together and you know, get from there.
Do you disagree, either Steve or Lee?
No, I think it's probably prudent to have all the documentation,
And Lee?
100% correct, so.
Yeah.
I agree. I think based on what conservation said regarding the 35%, and I think you changed a few things, so I think it would be smarter to wait. We could see the whole thing and make a decision.
Yeah, and I like to see what they say about the pool, and they're gonna have a lot of questions about that, because they don't like that. They don't tend to say no to anybody because of the state requirements are more lenient, so people appeal, they're not gonna win, so they just wanna go with the mitigation. And, so I hope that doesn't burden you too much, but maybe you can just go through and see every single thing you wanna do, reapply, because you're not hovering on the 2,800, you still have another, 1,000 square feet, so, you do.
No.
Yeah, but,
Don't encourage
no, I'm not encouraging you, but you know what, you might want to really do a lot of soul searching, package it all up, and just don't have us vote today, just ask for a withdrawal without prejudice, and we'll make that happen for you. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right,
We
very
can do
good.
that.
All right, so,
Randy?
Paul?
I'll move to grant the requested withdrawal without prejudice at this time.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed?
Ed votes yes.
All vote yes?
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Very good, it's unanimous. We'll look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Next, we have 1750 Main Street, William F. Riley Esquire, on behalf of the applicant. When Sarah's ready, she will read that application, and then we should be able to resolve this one in short order.
Application number 25-003, 1750 Main Street Realty Trust, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 1750 Main Street, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 8E, Block 35, Lot 14. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 17-040, granted on June 22nd, 2017, which allowed for the construction of a new dwelling in an alternate location with the condition that the kitchen and one bedroom in the existing dwelling be removed to render it not as a separate dwelling unit. The applicant now seeks to modify this special permit to allow for the kitchen and both bedrooms to remain and the structure to be treated as a protected use ADU. The lot contains 36,509 square feet in an R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 14, and Section 8D2B of the protected bylaw.
Mr. Riley, welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Bill Riley on behalf of Donna and Paul Vivides. Donna is here with us today. The property would qualify as one of the new ADUs allowed under the state statute. In my discussions with Jay, he suggested that it would be a good idea to modify the special permit so that there's no issue in the future that having a kitchen in there would be allowed.
That sounds great. So you're basically asking us to modify the existing special permit to allow for the kitchen and both bedrooms to remain and the structure to be treated as a protected ADU. Very good. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Please make it known. Seeing none, I will read the two letters, one from the Health Department and one from your next-door neighbor, I believe. Judith Giorgio, a health agent, tells us on 3/11/2025 that she reviewed the request, and the property is connected to municipal sewer. Detailed plans will be required for review. The property can have 4 bedrooms on sewer by right under the W&S regulations. Any flow over that number requires approval by the Sewer Commission. Next, we have a note from the Rocking Unicorn Nursery School located at 1762 Main Street in West Chatham. And they tell us on March 6th that they're writing to support the application. They own and operate the nursery school on 1762 Main, and the request of Donna and Paul to utilize the front cottage as protected ADU makes good sense. My preschool was established in 1981, back when Walter and Hazel Young lived in the cottage. Having the cottage returned to a dwelling will not negatively impact my business. They have been wonderful neighbors to my preschool and even enjoy our joyful noise. I hope that their request is approved. Gretchen Colby Cobble. I think I just mispronounced that, but that's what happened there. So anybody here on Microsoft Teams wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? Now's the time. Seeing none. Questions from the board. David Veach.
Maybe Jay or Mr. I'm curious, I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I'm curious about the state law change that enabled ADUs to be.
Let's ask our building commissioner.
Sure, Jay, yeah.
What would you like to know, Dave?
Well, I actually just first encountered this. I didn't know anything about it, and I'm just curious how,
It went into effect February 2nd, I believe, of this year, and they called them protected use ADUs.
okay,
It supersedes our bylaw.
with respect
We
to.
already
use.
adopted the bylaw for ADUs in 2019.
Right, yeah,
We've only built 2. So
Right.
they're
I'm
doing this
aware of that.
across the statewide, and there's a lot of interest in it. They have to be 50% of the gross floor area of the house. They can't be larger than that, or the
Mm-hmm.
maximum of 900 square feet.
okay,
They don't regulate the number of bedrooms in the units. They can have,
okay,
that cannot be regulated under the state
yeah,
statute, but the Board of Health or Title V will kick in on that. They do have to meet all building, fire, and health regulations, but they can't be unduly regulated. They're tied to the Dover Amendment,
yeah,
and a special permit would not be required to do a protected use ADU. Even, you could build one in a non-conforming structure. You could build one above a non-conforming structure, and no special permit would be required. If you're to do more than one protected use ADU on a lot, they say you could do that by special permit. And the town also has the right, we're all gonna have to amend our zoning bylaws to accommodate this new wording. No one's had time to do that yet.
yeah,
But we could also have additional ADUs if the town wanted to have their own separate ADU. The ones that have already been approved may or may not qualify as protected use, depending on, I think they probably would qualify, because we had the 900 square foot cap as well.
right, yeah.
But, yeah, so
Well,
there's a lot of interest.
I think, yeah, I think it sounds to me like a good thing. So,
Yep. All right, Ed, questions?
No questions.
And David Nixon, questions?
When I was out there, it's hard when you look through the windows to decide what room is what room and all that. But I noticed a set of stairs going to the second floor. Are there 2 additional bedrooms up there? Is that where they are?
If you could come to the mic, ma'am, and just, don't talk till you get there, because they'll knock on the window and yell at us if you do.
No, it's
Could you
not.
state your name?
My name is Donna Vafades.
Well,
Thank you.
So the answer is no, there are no bedrooms
It's
upstairs.
not heated.
So what was the reason for building the stairway to the second floor?
It's storage.
Storage?
Well, in the first place, they didn't build the house.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but somebody did.
somebody many years ago did.
And those are nice stairs. They're hardly the stairs that lead
It
to.
might have been Walter Young. He lived there for many years. Did you know Walter?
I did not.
He was the Warfingers, a fabulous, fabulous guy.
all right, let's
His
go back to
child
the
played up
application.
there.
Okay, and my second question is, I noticed you had a stove ready to install. It's covered up, it's not installed, but, so you must have been planning this for a while, correct?
The stove is for our boat. Somebody gave us a stove.
Oh,
We have a commercial fishing vessel in Stage Harbor. So I put the stove there because I prefer stainless steel, but the boat stove is ready to go. So that's going to go on the boat.
Very good. Good answer. Paul,
I think
questions?
I think it must be a staircase to heaven, Dave. I think that's probably the concept.
it looked that way.
Yeah, I have no questions.
Lee,
No questions.
Steve,
Steve has no question.
Jenny?
But you could have a stove in this unit, yes.
No,
What?
not right now.
No, but you can.
You
yeah,
can.
If we
No,
allow
I'm saying
this.
you don't have
Yeah,
to
once you
say that
modify the
could.
special permit,
yes,
you'll be
okay.
able to have a stove, that's
Right.
correct.
Okay, it also is only 1 bedroom,
It's okay.
Yeah, okay.
Good.
so you know that. It said, the sewer said only 4 on the property. We had to take that wall down.
That's fine.
Okay,
Yep, no worries.
all right?
All right, so Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed Acton votes yes.
All votes yes?
Steve votes yes.
Yeah,
And Ginny votes yes.
all right, very good. Deliberations, David Veach?
Nothing to, I have no, I think it's a good development in circumstances, and it perfectly fits for the town, and we can easily modify that special permit.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
I agree, and I hope it gets used.
Yeah, it will. Paul?
It's always fun to watch people try to control a client. It's fun when you're no longer doing it. I see no problems with this. It's certainly not substantially detrimental to the neighborhood.
And Lee?
I agree with my colleagues, and I commend the owners for creating it.
Very good. Steve?
I think, especially since it had been lived in previously, I think it's a good idea and good use of that property.
And Ginny?
I agree. I like that it's going back to its original use, and it meets our criteria, so I would support it.
Very good. Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
David seconds and votes yes.
Ed Acton votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes
All
yes.
right, it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Let's see. Next application is 44 Scattery Road, and Lee Hovey will be voting on that one instead of Ed Acton. And when Sarah's ready, she will read the application.
Application number 25-004, James W. Savely IV and Kristen Savely, care of Thad Eldridge, 1038 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owners of property located at 44 Scattery Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 16J, Block 7B, Lot WA4. The applicant seeks to construct a conforming accessory structure on a non-conforming lot. The proposed garage with habitable space above will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, requires the grant of a special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,667 square feet, 5.3%, and the proposed building coverage is 2,568 square feet, 8.2%, where 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 141.46 feet of frontage where 150 feet is required, and contains 31,291 square feet where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw.
Welcome, Mr. Eldridge.
Good afternoon. For the record, Thad Eldridge, East Southeast. The Saveleys are online, so if there are questions, they're certainly available to answer them. So we have a non-conforming lot with a proposed conforming addition. The Saveleys family is growing. They have 3 adult daughters, and they'll soon have 3 adult son-in-laws. Their property is developed with a home. There's a 1-car garage in it. Doesn't quite fit the boat that's stored out there. They would really like to put that boat inside, which a garage bay will enable them to do. There's a driveway easement that extends through the property for the abutter. And they have a somewhat odd driveway. I don't know if anybody tried parking in the driveway to the north of the dwelling, but I've parked there a couple of times, and it's a funny angle. They've done everything they can to not block this driveway, and they've seen that they could use some more parking spaces. So when they first looked at this, they considered adding to the existing dwelling. It just didn't lend itself to it, so they changed over and decided a detached structure would be more conducive to the lot. Again, they have the 1 bay. They'd be adding 3 more. They have the whaler, they have kayaks and bikes, and beach stuff, and boat stuff, and hopefully they can fit a car or 2 in their garages when they're said and done. They would like to provide more living space for their growing family, so the 2nd floor is living space dedicated to that. This would be in the flavor of a bunkhouse rather than a guest house. It would not have full kitchen facilities. As mentioned, we're looking at an increase in the building coverage from 5.3% to 8.2%, where 10% is allowed. The compatibility with the surrounding properties, or neighboring properties, it's a mismatch of a neighborhood. There are some larger homes, 4,000, 4,200 square feet. Next door, there's a 3,500 square foot home being constructed. And then there are a number of smaller homes. Properties with 1,900, 1,200, and a mix. There are quite a few properties with two structures on them. So you can see kind of across the street, there's a pair here. There's a few homes on that property. So this is certainly not out of the ordinary for the neighborhood. So the living space is the nonconformity that's increasing. The proposal will have minimum impact on the neighboring properties. We have some low points that are here that catch the stormwater runoff before they get to the neighbor's driveway, and otherwise we have a nice cleared area to start from. We're proposing to maintain the vegetation along the street. It is a nice Karen-Kempton design, but at the same time, we're going to be maintaining that visual buffer for privacy purposes. We're residential. That is certainly compatible with the neighborhood. The existing septic system, we've been to the Board of Health, requested the additional bedroom, and that's been approved. There's no impact on the traffic flow anticipated. This will be better because they'll be able to get their cars definitely off the easement, maintaining that. And with the reconstruction of the house to the south, we're expecting more traffic to be coming through. Noise and litter, adequacy of utilities, those are pretty much irrelevant, and it's certainly not a formula business or in the floodplain. So if there are any questions, I'm very happy to answer them.
Very good. Stand by. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please make it known. I do see the owners, but I'm not going to ask you to speak in favor. We assume you are in favor. Okay, that's how the world works. So at this point, I'm going to read the one note we got from Judith Giorgio, 3/12/2025. She tells us she reviewed the plan to add one-bedroom garage house at this property. The proposal was approved by the Board of Health to include an updated IA system for nitrogen removal in accordance with the loading regulation. The property is approved for 4 bedrooms and will require a deed restriction. That concludes the correspondences. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? There's nobody here with their hand up, and I don't see anyone online either. So questions from the board. Ed? Oh, Ed, oh, I didn't even notice. I didn't turn around. Okay. Figures one time I pick on Ed. Lee?
Did you say that there will not be a kitchen up there?
Correct.
Okay.
This is they don't qualify for 2 dwellings on this property.
Okay, so no kitchen. And did you say more of a bunk room, or maybe I misheard you?
We've always called these bunk houses.
Okay.
It's, the main living area is in the main house, but this is a bedroom, a living room, and just additional space.
Okay. I think that's it. Thank you.
Paul, questions?
I have no questions.
Ginny?
No questions.
Steve?
The area where this building is going to be is in that clearing, sort of, so you're not disturbing those larger trees that are there?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because that adds a little buffer to the neighbors and some mature trees there. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Dave Nixon?
I have no
each?
questions.
And Dave Nixon?
Thad, this is not a small, I love your bunk house description. Pretty ornate for a bunk house, but that's okay. It seems large, but I really like the idea of 3 bays for automobiles.
And stuff.
So internally, if this was me, could I put 5 cars in here?
Well, are you getting smart cars, or?
No, all sizes. It just seems larger than necessary, but that's not my call.
So also, my just question is, the land really slopes in that area. It looks like it's a big hole. You're going to have to bring a lot of fill in, I take it.
There will be fill in the front. The rear of the building, it would be exposed concrete, but that will be faced.
It'll all be level with the rest of the property at the end of the day?
Front will be level, but then it drops off towards the back. You can,
Yeah. Any word from the neighbors to the, sort of up the street? Like, there's a house right sort of behind it. Have you heard or had any correspondence with them, their opinion?
I had a brief conversation with the neighbor.
I don't mean the house behind it. I mean the one next to it. There's a driveway next to it?
So that's the same owner who
Okay. Oh,
who
interesting.
owns here and here.
Oh,
And so I had a brief conversation with her about everything when I was surveying the property.
could you disclose what that, did it include four-letter words or?
Oh, no. I spent
Okay.
more time petting her dog than,
Okay,
than worrying about the project.
yeah.
She said she might oppose it or she might review the plans.
So she wasn't, yeah, because we haven't heard anything. Okay, I was just curious. All right, so
She has a lovely dog, by the way, so.
they all are. All right, so Paul, did I ask you if you had any questions yet?
I have no questions.
All right. Do you want to, anybody else? I think I asked everybody. Ginny, please go ahead.
You did ask me, but.
That's
so,
okay.
Ed, question about the height. I see that it's 7 inches from the maximum, but that is because of the way that we calculate height, and there's such a slope to that property that it is not going to read like it's even though technically it is 29.4 or almost 5. Is that right? Am I thinking about it correctly? Because of the slope?
We could add a little fill to it and bring it down to 29 feet. We could add a lot of fill to it and bring it down to 28 feet. We're really working with the existing grades.
Yeah, and I see that you have them there showing the, okay, that's it, thank you.
Okay, so Paul, do your thing.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
All votes yes.
Lee,
I vote yes.
Steve?
Steve votes yes.
Jenny?
He votes yes.
All right, very good. So now we'll do deliberations, and we'll start with Steve.
Well, I don't see a problem with any of this, especially we haven't heard from any of the neighbors, and it's, a needed development for the family, expanding family, and I think it's a good project.
Ginny, your thoughts?
I think it's large for, and I know that it isn't a guest house because it doesn't have a stove. But if, that is the only thing that it doesn't have. It's actually, if you were, you would need, if it were gonna be a guest house, you would need 60,000 square feet. You have 31. You would also need to have it be less than 50% the gross floor area of the house, and it's over that. So it's a large structure, 4-car garage for 3 cars, 3 here, and then 1 at the house. It's a large structure for, basically, the ask, I think, is large for the fact that you don't have a stove. That is the only thing that's holding you back from having a second home, basically, on that property. So that's why I think it's large in the context of, but having said that, you're not proposing a kitchen and cooking and a stove, and because of that, it's not a guest house, but that's just where I'm sort of struggling with the size of it.
So you're struggling with whether the size of it is substantially detrimental to that neighborhood?
Yes, and actually, I think Thad brings up a good point, that that neighborhood is very eclectic. It has very large homes, and it has some smaller cottages. So I don't know that I could say it's detrimental, but that is
substantially detrimental.
substantially detrimental. But that is where I'm struggling.
Right, and Steve, what say you?
Did
Oh. I am paying attention. To a degree. Go ahead, Lee, yes.
I think, first of all, I think it's very attractive. It's really, and I totally get the garage space, because who doesn't need garages? my first instinct would be, would you consider maybe not having that third garage and not having that deck? Although it would be very nice. I think that adds to the mass of it. You know, it is a very, congested is the wrong word, populated neighborhood. But you did point out a lot of homes have a second structure on their property. I mean, it meets all the bulk and dimensional requirements. So, you know, yes, it fits. And the fact that it's set down a little bit, it fits. My gut was just maybe you could get rid of that third bay. But, once again, I don't think it would be substantially detrimental to the neighborhood.
Paul?
Well, I agree with the comments by Ginny and Lee. It does seem large and probably larger than is actually necessary, but at the same time, it does meet our requirements. I don't think you could conclude that it's substantially more detrimental for the neighborhood as a whole. So I would support it.
David Beach?
Yeah, I didn't, you know, we're in North Chatham here. I really didn't make an association of thinking that the building looked too large. It meets, as Lee pointed, it meets all the dimensional requirements of the bylaw. It's a good-looking structure. It looks like a perfect fit to me. I think it's actually going to look better than that field that's there right now. And we don't have many fields left in Chatham to look at. So, no, I very much, there's no way that it's more detrimental in the neighborhood, and certainly not substantially more so. And so I'm happy to support it.
Mr. Nixon, what say you?
Well, if I were voting, which I'm not, but I would determine this to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood because it is so large, it looks to me like another home. And it's not being presented that way, but to me, it's just too much, and therefore is substantially detrimental to the neighborhood.
And lucky you, I'm not voting either, but I came in here thinking that it should be a two-car garage and not a three. I do think there's nothing that looks better to me than a field, so there's that. You can't improve on nature, so. But I also think it's very handsome, and I'm not gonna be too upset about it, but I would have asked you to reduce it to 2 if I were voting. So, given that, I guess we can ask Paul to.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations. Or did I
Did
already
we just do that?
Oh, yeah, we
I already
did that.
did
So we
that.
did the So,
I was brilliant.
so let's talk about conditions.
Okay, in that case, I will move to approve the application as submitted with the standard conditions, given the location, that all construction activity and vehicles to be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner, that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed, no work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Paul?
Paul votes yes.
Lee?
I vote yes.
Steve?
Steve votes yes.
And Ginny?
I vote no.
Okay, well, you won, 4-5. I mean, I'm sorry, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. 4 out of 5 is what I meant to say, 4 out of 5. And timing is everything, isn't it?
I guess so. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, congratulations. And we'll ask Mr. Acton to come on back in.
Maybe you have.
Yeah. No, he left his coat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So unless anyone wants to take a break, we'll go on to 13 Captain Knowles Way. Does anyone need to have a 5-minute break? Raise your hand if you do. No? Okay. Okay, so we won't. And next application, 13 Captain Knowles Way, Minglewood Homes, care of William G. Litchfield, Esquire. When Sarah's ready, we'll read this Step application.
Application number 24-116, Minglewood Homes, care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 13 Captain Knowles Way, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 11C, Block 5, Lot H13. The applicant seeks to construct an elevated stairway, landings, and kayak rack under Section 4A3A of the Protective Bylaw. The lot contains 57,500 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw. This was continued from November 21st, 2024, and January 23rd, 2025.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Tim Smith of Minglewood Homes, who is in the rear along with our engineer David Clark of Clark Engineering. We are here for a standard special permit, not one based just on the question of substantial detriment resulting from change to a non-conforming structure, but rather one that requires a finding by you that what is proposed is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and is consistent with the purpose and intent of our bylaw. This has been continued a couple of times to allow the Conservation Commission to review the plans and to accommodate some requests and suggestions that they made, which are incorporated into the plans that you have before you today. We're seeking approval to construct a set of stairs to allow for access to Oyster River, along with a kayak rack, which will be located in an area chosen to minimize disturbance of underbrush and tree work. And the bottom section is now proposed to be seasonally removable, as suggested by the Conservation Commission. In addition, the width has been narrowed to 3 feet in accordance with the Conservation Commission's preference, and the location was found by the Commission to be the logical place, as you probably saw when you went out there. So I will go into the criteria as to adequacy of the site in terms of the size for the proposed use. We have a 57,500 square foot lot, which is entirely adequate for the use. We've got 165 feet of frontage, or shorefront on Oyster River. As to suitability of the site for the proposed use, the exact site going down the coastal bank is suitable for very little but a water-related use or water access use. And as you know, a much more intensive use, a boathouse, is an allowable permitted use in all zoning districts. The bylaw provides specifically for stairs in conservancy districts and allows from proximity, particularly where, as here, there are several sound environmental reasons to locate the stairs in this specific location. No traffic flow and safety issues as to neighborhood visual character, there is none. It's a large lot. The stairs were redesigned to preserve trees, and they're without impact on neighborhood visual character. There are no noise, public utilities, or sewage issues involved. One that is involved is the compatibility of the proposed use with those on surrounding land uses. Several neighboring homes at 70 and 72 Judges Way to the left or west, and at 2 Captain Knowles to the east or right, have stairs necessitated by the natural topography. For that matter, 22 and 150 Captain Sears, a little bit further to the east, have docks, which we're not proposing. As an accessory residential structure or use in a water-oriented neighborhood, stairs are completely compatible with surrounding neighborhood uses. As to impact on natural environment, slopes, and wetlands, this will actually have a positive environmental impact. Stairs are preferable to the potential for exacerbating erosion by clambering up and down the bank, especially with the mitigation. We are be removing about 800 square feet of honeysuckle, planting of Pennsylvania sedge below the stairs themselves, which will help to make sure that what is in fact a very stable bank remains so. Conservation Commission saw this as the most logical location, the only bare spot. They are satisfied with the mitigation, and again, the plans have been revised to address the Conservation Commission's concerns, particularly to make the lowest section removable. The chair will read a couple of letters, which I know I'll be provided an opportunity to respond, but in summary, this special permit requires a finding that the use will not be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood and the town,
and that the use involved will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. One of the cited purposes and intents of the bylaw is to encourage those qualities that make Chatham a desirable place in which to live, and being able to get to the shore over one's own property and be able to do so in an environmentally sensitive manner is plainly one of those qualities. That's all we're seeking to accomplish, and on these facts and circumstances in this location, I think that you can readily make a finding that the stairs will not be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood or the town, and that they are in keeping with the purpose and intent of the bylaw. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Stand by. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Seeing no one responding to that, I will read the three correspondences. The Conservation Commission tells us on March 4, 2025, that a notice intent was submitted February 11th, 2025. The project was heard February 26, March 26. In 2025, they had some requested changes, and the project may be conditioned to meet the performance standard under the Wetlands Protection Act. I think you're going to meet with them like next week, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
I'm sorry?
You're going to meet with them again, I think, one more time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Conservation always defers to
Yeah,
your
right.
expert judgment before
Right.
they issue an order.
Okay, very good. Now we have a note from Robert and Andrea Dodds, 82 Judges Way. Andrea tells us that her husband and herself would like to go on record to object to this application. They don't want the elevated staircase because it's, quote, dangerously close to an existing staircase in an area that has seen some serious erosion in recent years. And if I didn't say it, that was submitted Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. Then we have a note from November 12th, 2024, from Everett and Joyce Husing, 70 Judges Way, also objecting. They completed a project with the goal to stabilize eroded coastal bank by installing 10 by 12 feet of erosion control blanket under, around, and around the existing stairs. There's quite a bit of erosion in this location, especially when increasing heavy winter storms hit, in particular when ice slabs float from the river. A prior project addressed the consequences of the 2018 winter storm and resulted in a new seasonal aluminum staircase from existing platforms to the coastal beach, now replacing the prior timber steps. The seasonal stairs were strongly recommended by engineering and conservation. Their objection is that having concluded this restoration project this month at considerable expense, they're concerned about a concentration of new stairway structures, all a few yards apart, with probable future stairs in between two properties as well. There is an easement pathway to the coastal bank. Given the inevitable erosion progression, it is preferred that the suggested elevated stairway, landing, and kayak be seasonal and moved more to the east of the property. This would minimize the concentration of activity in one concentrated point, reducing erosion risk. If the main reason for the positioning of the stairs is an existing path, please be informed there has never been any human activity there other than deer making their way up and down the hill, resulting in a modest deer trail. So, is this the time you'd like to speak to
Very
that?
briefly, Madam Chairman, I would note that two things. First of all, those letters were both written in November before
Right.
the plans were revised. And I don't know that you need to hear more from me. I have several things I could say, but unless the board wants to hear more, I shan't.
No, I think they speak for themselves, and now we can make our own conclusions or not. So, at this point, is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that would like to speak against this application or has a specific question? If so, please indicate. Seeing none. Questions from the board? David Nixon.
Not so long ago, we had a situation on Cranberry Lane where the erosion was a big worry. And we had a revetment on both sides and what was going to happen. And You spent considerable amount of time with an engineer explaining to us why we shouldn't be that worried, but maybe a little worried, you know. So I did not go and look at this. That's one of the reasons I'm not voting today. So I have not been able to see what the erosion has been there. But if you indulge with me just for a moment, I would like to ask my fellow member, Lee, who has a property just north of this, if she could tell us about the erosion along your side, because you're, what, several hundred feet away from this. Is it as presented in these letters, or?
Well, the amount of time that I spend, going down Oyster River, checking out the erosion and the embankment and stuff, is limited to the summer, first of all. And I would say that there has been some erosion, but I would say that it is not nearly as substantial as some areas in Chatham, because it's relatively calm in the Oyster River. I think what's causing a lot of the erosion is the rising tide, and the tides are higher, and so there's maybe more force. I have noticed a large tree, actually, in that area that has come down. Probably because the tide gets high, it rots the roots, and the tree dies. But in terms of substantial erosion, I would guess not, but I don't really know.
Okay. Thank you. So going back to your scenario, I guess I'm disappointed that we don't have you presenting an engineer's opinion
We do.
of all that. Well,
If I could, Mr.
well, there you go.
And
We had some discussions on this issue as David Clark comes up to join me. We had considerable discussion on this very topic at the Conservation Commission in light of those letters. And while the abutter or the neighbor, a couple of lots to the left, had apparently some erosion issues, there's no history of that problem on this lot. Excuse me, the Conservation Commission echoed what Ms. Huffey said, that there are often higher tides than in years gone by, but there's no history of winter storm damage here. This is, after all, Oyster River, and there really isn't a storm damage issue. I'll defer to David if I could, and then respond further.
Yeah, please do. And David, welcome. I listened to the conservation, and can you talk about whether or not also there's any icebergs that, ice issues that was stated in the letter? Because I didn't get that impression from conservation.
David Clark, Clark
Please.
Engineering for the record. So to address the icebergs, in the wintertime, when it gets very cold, and this was a winter when we had a significant cold snap, you do get ice in Oyster River and in the Oyster Pond, particularly because so much fresh water dumps into Oyster Pond. So that ice during the tides gets pushed up on the beach, and most of the time it just sits there. Back in our youths, Oyster Pond used to freeze solid, and I remember seeing quahoggers cutting holes in the ice and long raking for quahogs in Oyster Pond. That was a long time ago. But we still get ice. Is there erosion on this property? There is. We show it on the plan. There is an escarpment right where we're putting the stairs, but that escarpment goes all the way down the beach, and it's less than a foot high. There's no sign, and in the top of that escarpment is about elevation 6. There's no sign of the water getting higher than that and pulling material from higher up in the bank. So I think it's just longshore currents, as Lee stated, because we got a little bit higher tides now than we traditionally have, and it's causing that visible escarpment. But would I say it's significant? By no means. It's common up and down the river. Just in this stretch, it's visible, and fortunately, in this particular location, we don't have the wave activity that you'd have in other open areas in town. So we chose this location because it has the least impact on the bank. It's not only is it the easiest place to put stairs, it's the shallowest in slope. And if you look at the contours, we're in a little swale along the bank. So 90% of this stair is protected by the adjacent landforms because it's tucked into the slope. And anywhere else along that slope, it's going to sit proud of the bank and be visible from both sides when you're on the beach. We thought this was the ideal location because it is nestled in that swale. And we did take into consideration conservation's concern about the seasonality. That last set of stairs was redesigned, so that last platform is at elevation, the bottom of the platform is elevation 8.2, which coincides with the storm of record for the Stage Harbor complex, which is still 1944 hurricane. Based upon even all the storms we've had since then. The 1944 hurricane is the record high water for the Stage Harbor complex, which is elevation 8.2. So we don't foresee, and the other fact about that is hurricanes occur in the summertime. Everybody's docks, everybody's stairs, everybody boats are in the water during that time. And taking this out in the wintertime will protect us from any northeast storms, coastal storms, but the water's never going to get that high. But it'll be out of harm's way for the wintertime especially when we have ice.
Thank you both very much, and my apologies to Mr. Veach, who usually gets to ask the longest question.
Yeah, well, why don't we just go to him now?
That was only 10 minutes.
We haven't gone to you yet, Mr. Veach, have you?
Well, I did go out there, actually this morning after reading the letters. And first of all, I know, I walked down.
Just as question time.
Oh,
Mr. Remmer.
okay.
Do you have
So
any?
I have, let's see. No, I have no question.
Okay, very good. Questions, Ed?
No questions?
All right. Paul?
Sounds like we should be saying, remove these stairs in the summertime, when we're gonna have a hurricane and the water's gonna hit it. I have no other questions.
And Lee, questions?
No questions.
Steve?
I guess just to get it on the record, is any part of this stairway part of an easement for other folks to use?
No, this is on the locus itself, on the lot owned by the applicant.
So the only folks that are going to have access to this stair are the property owners?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, unless you're invited as a guest.
Well, that would be nice.
You're a nice person.
Yes, thank you. Because it did look like it was heavily you could tell where people were maybe walking through there other than deer occasionally. So it did look like it was getting some use from somebody.
And yeah, having been out there several times over the last 6 months, one of the important things that this board knows, despite your original thoughts, is that stairs in areas like this are environmentally preferable to people continuing to clamber up and down that obvious area for access. So with the planting of the Pennsylvania sedge underneath the stairs, and because the planks are rather widely spaced, 3/4 of an inch, David? Yeah, I think it's 3/4 of an inch. The sedge should grow quite well. So it's going to be an environmental improvement, which will help any potential erosion issues.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ginny, questions?
I did just have I was just curious where the easement was. Is it to the northeast of
To
the
the
property?
left or west when you're facing Oyster River.
Okay, so actually closer to 70 and 80.
Yeah, it's closer to them. It's immediately adjacent to 82. Well, whichever one is closest.
I was going to ask you, Mr. Litchfield, your opinion on an easement having stairs, but I think I know where you stand on that. This goes back a few hearings. No, I was just curious, that's all I have.
And I would just add for the record, am I correct in assuming that that sandy beach that's there can be shared by anybody that makes their way down there?
Below the high water mark, you can walk from the Rhode Island border to the New Hampshire border.
Don't tempt me.
Under the colonial ordinances, but it's sort of tricky to walk across the South Chatham waterways near Mr. Semple to get there.
Yeah, it is a sandy beach, though, is it not?
It is, it is, yes, and we had discussions with Conservation as to whether or not the bank was a sediment source, and the Conservation Commission felt that it was not. The sand is just there.
Are you saying that the county dredge does not deliver sand there, as far as you're concerned?
That is correct as far as I know. They generally put sand along the south coast in South Chatham and recently along the Scattery-Koch-Pinnacle area. I'm not aware that they've done anything within Oyster River. Ms. Hovey may know, but I'm not aware of it.
Not that I know of.
No, yeah, so that's a sandy beach, period. Very good, good to know. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
And Paul votes yes.
Ed Acton?
Ed votes yes.
Steve?
Steve votes yes.
And Ginny?
Ginny votes
All right,
yes.
very good. So deliberations, Lee?
Well, I don't have any problem with this. I think, stairs are preferable, as you said, environmentally. They have a right to access the water. I think these will be fine.
And Steve?
Yeah, I think the stairs in that location is kind of the logical place to put those stairs. It's probably the least steep, and it looks like it's already been used for access to the river. And I think the stairs will only, benefit the environment there and prevent the sand from eroding any further and maybe get some vegetation to grow on that bank. So I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and David Nixon?
If I were voting, I'd certainly vote yes. Having come into this not knowing, I think that, thank you very much, Mr. Clark and Mr. Litchfield.
Okay, David, let me just go to David Veach, and then we'll go to Ed Acton.
Yeah, well, actually, this might have been my question that I wouldn't ask, but going by memory, the bylaw specifically allows stairways to be closer to a property line. I think it's like within 3 feet. So the concern being expressed by the neighbor, I don't know, I mean, I think the bylaw sort of presumes that you can have stairways relatively as close as 6 feet.
3 feet,
Or, well, if it's 3 feet on either side.
right.
It could be 6 feet, and the bylaw would allow that, so I think it speaks favorably to that kind of situation. I did go down there and walk down the path. That's the only place that I would even attempt to try to walk down that bank and walk the shore. And it's good to have gotten Dave Clark's expert assessment of the situation. It kind of matches what I saw. I'm just a layman, but if there's any kind of bank, it's no more taller than like that, and pretty well vegetated all along there, and not looking like any kind of active erosion areas to me. So and the rest of I walked the shore a little bit on this property, and the rest of it is quite steep, and it would be a staircase, as Dave pointed out. Going over that would be more disruptive, I think, certainly visually, and probably would not be able to, certainly wouldn't be able to follow the slope of the bank. So would have to, I don't know how they would solve all that, but it wouldn't be a great situation. So this is really the only spot on the lot that this should be.
Sounds good. Ed Acton?
Yep, I agree with my board members. I think it's the right location, and I think the having the bottom section removable is a good idea, and I think it'll be better for the environment to have the stairs, so I would vote yes.
And Ginny?
Yeah, I walked down there, and I actually walked all the way, and I noticed that the folks that rode in to object to the stairs both have stairs. I just wanted to point that out. I've watched the numerous conservation hearings, and there have been a lot, and I think the applicant has been completely accommodating. Reduced it to 3 feet, removable end, relocated the front portion. And I agree with Dave Clark that they're tucked in very nicely, they're very barely visible. So I would support it.
Yeah, and Paul?
Yes, I think this is an example where the expertise that has come in to give us some justification for it makes sense, and it does help us make our decisions. So I think I agree that it would certainly not be more detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood, and the use is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw.
Yep, and I think so as well. I enjoyed listening to conservation. It really set everything in gear for me to come in here and say that I would support it. And thank you for your presentation. And Paul,
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I
Dave Veach seconds and
don't
votes
think I
yes.
see a need for any conditions. to
No.
this.
Ed votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Steve?
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. All right, does anyone need a break before we do the last one? The last one might be a little lengthy. Nope, okay. I'll go by you. 52 Deep Hole Road is the next application. Last but not least, Paul and Mildred Ford, care of William F. Riley Esquire. When Sarah's ready, she will read the application.
Application number 24-134, Paul and Mildred Ford, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 52 Deep Hole Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 2B, Block 36, Lot 20. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a nonconforming dwelling on a nonconforming lot via the construction of additions and a deck. The existing dwelling is nonconforming in that it is located 14.6 feet from Deep Hole Road, where a 25-foot setback is required, and 12.8 feet from the easterly abutter. The proposed addition will be located 11.2 feet from the easterly abutter. The proposed deck will be located 4.7 feet from the easterly abutter, where a 15-foot setback is required. Also proposed is the removal of 2 nonconforming sheds. The existing building coverage is 1,330 square feet, 13%, and the proposed building coverage is 1,484 square feet, 14.5%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 10,871 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw. This was continued from December 12th, 2024, and January 23rd, 2025.
Okay, Mr. Riley.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of Paul and Mildred Ford. We had a lengthy hearing back in December.
Yeah, can you tell us what's new since then, perhaps?
We have a new plan.
Right, okay.
Could you put it up, Sarah, please?
It's not that new.
So the upshot of our last meeting was that, in general, you had no objection to the changes to the house or the small addition. The deck was problematic, and the long and short of the discussion, which I watched again today, just riveting discussion, was that the deck would be allowed to remain as a walkway to the shower, which is in the same location as the existing outdoor shower. And otherwise, the deck would be modified so that it is at least as far from the property line as the corner of the addition, which is 11.2 feet. And so that's what is shown on the plan. I can talk more.
Oh, no, very good. So that's your presentation. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of the application? If so, please make it known. Seeing none, I will read the three correspondences. First, we have a note from Judith Giorgio from 3/11/2025. I reviewed the plan to the addition and decks to this property. No additional flow is proposed, and existing and proposed dwellings has 2 bedrooms. I have no concerns regarding this project. Christina Bassett from the Historical Commission tells us that the home is not historically significant, and that was on December 13th, 2024. And then we have a note from Teresa Redmond, but I see her here. Would you rather speak than have me read it? Very good, so just hold on for 1 second till we get to that segment. All right, so that concludes the correspondences. Is there anybody here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against or has a specific question? You have 5 minutes. Please approach the podium, ma'am. State your name and your concerns.
Okay, my name is Teresa Redmond. I am the easterly abutter to 52 Depot Road. I have a couple of issues. Let me start out with, I'm fine with the 11.2 feet for the addition of the new room, fine with all that. My biggest concern right now is the outdoor shower, which is not in the current location. It's proposed to be further towards my house. And it is in direct line with the main entrance to my house, my front door. As I walk out my front door, I look over, the current shower is there, the proposed location is even closer to my front door. I'm in and out of that door several times a day, and it's also the access to my backyard. So it brings up privacy issues, for sure. So very opposed to where they want to put the new outdoor shower. I know you said it was in the same location. It is not. I have a picture with me that I have notated that I'm happy to let you guys see if that's allowed. If not, that's fine.
Do you mean that your picture shows where the current?
Yeah, it's a photo.
We saw it, so we know.
Okay,
Yeah, so rest assured that we go there, and I know for a fact we've all been to this one maybe more than once.
okay. Because we didn't talk about that specifically in the December meeting. So so you get all that. A portion of the deck is proposed to be less than 5 feet from my property, which I think is unreasonable. And I know that's where they want, the only reason for that portion of the deck is to get to the new outside shower, which is also unreasonable. So given all of that and all of the non-conforming setbacks, I'm requesting that a privacy fence be put up to start at the southeast corner of the house at 52 Depot Road, running all the way back to the north end of the property along the boundary line. So in general, I'm asking that nothing other than the privacy fence be constructed no closer than 11.2 feet. That's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? If not, I will let Mr. Riley rebut anything that he has heard that he doesn't agree with.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Sarah, we did discuss the location of the outdoor shower at our last meeting. If you could pull up, I think it's sheet 3 and the plans. Oh, the ones that,
The photos
Not the
or the
photos.
actual plans?
yeah, the plans. Wait a minute. This plan. Number 3. All right, thank you. Okay, so as Mrs. Redmond testified or spoke earlier, she said that the shower was behind the house and now it's not behind the house again. This is the house, which is not moving. Here's the shower, which is also not moving. And so the shower location has not changed. And so we discussed it at length in our last meeting, I believe Ms. Fenwick principally thought that it was reasonable for them to be able to use the deck to walk to the shower. We don't have an objection to putting up a fence. We don't intend to put it up the entire length of the property line because that's, I think, unreasonable. As Mr. Nixon noted at our last meeting, the portion of the Redmond property that's closest to our property is the garage, and there's no wind.
You can't do that, ma'am, I'm sorry. Please don't.
Is the garage, and there's no window in that side of the garage. So I think, a fence that begins where the outdoor shower is and goes back, so it's past the end of the deck, would be a reasonable request, and we're happy to accept it. But we don't think we should have to wall ourselves off from the rest of the world. So that'd be my position, my client's position.
Okay, so, where are we? I read the correspondences. We talked against. Questions from the board? Lee?
I don't have any questions right this minute, but maybe
Okay.
come back to it.
Steve? Want me to go to someone else, or you? No, go ahead.
If the rinse station or shower is in the current position, do you know what the dimensions, is it what's changing about the shower that's bringing this to light now? Is it getting bigger, or is it becoming somehow more prominent?
The enclosure might be somewhat larger.
Okay. Also, I think we talked about this the last time, is the deck elevated? And what is that height?
It's just 1 or 2 steps, that's what we discussed last time. Because it's 1 step down from the first floor of the house. So it's just 1 or 2 steps up. We have some pictures showing the existing back of the house with that stone patio. Yes, so you see so you can see, so the deck will be at that height.
The height of the sill of the door?
Well, right there, where the little hand is waving.
Yes, height.
Okay, so in other words, so that's the existing patio.
Yes.
And so the addition is going to go in that location. The deck is going to extend further into the yard and will be at the same height as the existing patio. So it's just a 2-step up.
So would you say then that's, a foot or a foot and a half above the ground?
About that, yeah.
Okay. If you were then to install a fence between your property and the butter's property, I'm assuming it can't be higher than 6 feet.
That's correct.
So the fact that the deck is a foot and a half above the ground and the fence is 6 feet, that essentially makes it a 4.5-foot fence.
Okay. But Steve, how much time do you really think the Fords
The questions are going to go this,
looking over the
Mr. Riley,
fence?
questions are going to go this way. We ask you the questions, and you give us the answers.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a foot and a half for the deck. The fence is 6 feet. Have you ever considered an alternate spot for that rinse station, maybe on the other side of the house?
It would require complete replumbing of the system, so no, they have not considered that. I mean, the rinse station has been there for, years.
Yes, but you also said it's changing. It's getting
I said the
larger.
enclosure's a little larger.
Well, okay, okay.
And we're gonna have and we just offered to put a 6-foot fence, beginning where the rinse station is, running back.
Okay, all right.
All right, we're going to go to Dave Veach, and then we're going to go to Jenny, because I know they both have some
Yeah,
big questions.
so, Bill, I'm having some problems here, so let me try to nail this down. And most of my problems revolve around the outdoor shower. Now, you've stated, I don't know, you stated that the outdoor shower has not moved.
That's correct.
Well, so I don't see how the outdoor shower can't move when where it's presently located is, I don't know if consumed would be the right word, but is engulfed by the addition.
It's not engulfed by the
There's a
addition.
picture.
It is entirely. I was out there. I looked at it. It's flush with the edge of the deck.
Yeah, there's a picture of it right up there.
Right, yeah, it's flush
So
with the edge
it's,
of the deck.
all right, so.
It's going to be flush against the side of the house.
So
the
it
addition.
is not, the proposal is not in the same location. Now, let me also ask you, so you said there's there's somewhat of an increase in size. By my count and measure, which was not with a tape measure, but stretching my arms out, and it is the existing shower is more or less 6 feet by 3 feet to 39 inches. So 18 to 19 square feet. Now, what I read is that the proposal is 6'5" by 6'5".
Right,
That's correct?
that's correct.
All right, so would you then agree that by my calculations anyway, say the existing is about 18 or 19 square feet? That proposal, I know math's not your strong suit, but that proposal goes to 42, slightly over 42 square feet. Would you agree, would you think that's not do you think it's an insignificant difference?
I do think it's insignificant. And the reason, I know the difference in the numbers, but the proposal that we're making now is that there's going to be a 6-foot fence running along the property line, beginning at the location of the outdoor shower and running back, 2/3 of the way along the property line. So
Okay, so
can
we focus a little more on the shower? I've heard about the fence, I understand that. Now, I believe, and I guess, so the outdoor shower didn't appear anywhere in our ad or anything. So, given that, I'm gonna ask, is it correct that and the original shower location is not shown on the site plan?
the shower is in the same location, Dave.
It is, Bill, it is not
It
in
is
the same location.
In the same location.
I obviously strongly disagree with that. Okay? There are, in one dimension, it might be in a similar location. In the other dimension, it is not.
What dimension? What are we talking about?
Okay. I'm going to, let's calm it down for a
Okay,
moment.
okay.
You can
So,
cast your opinion
yeah,
on your
all right, I'm
vote.
sorry.
But Sarah's got a little point to make, if
Okay.
that's okay with you?
Yeah,
We'll
sure.
go back to you. Question.
So, Bill, question for you. Is there decking under the outdoor shower as proposed?
I believe not.
Okay.
Okay.
Because if there was, they can't put decking, because that would be closer than the 4.7 feet that was advertised, because that's showing the fence at 4.1 feet from the property. Right here.
Okay, so that's okay then, yes?
Yes, as long as they're not getting any closer than the 4.7 feet that was advertised and noticed to abutters, then the board could proceed with the hearing as is.
Could I address
No,
Mr. Veach's concerns?
please.
All right, so David,
Mr. Veach was good.
No.
I like the formalities.
The Honorable
I'm a
Mr.
court
Veach.
person, yes.
the Honorable Mr.
Yeah,
Veach. So the shower with its smaller enclosure is behind the existing house. And the proposed rinse station is also behind the existing house. And it's, yeah. And it's immediately adjacent to the side of the addition, which is where the existing one is. It's just ours is 6.5 by 6.5 instead of
Well,
4.
so when, excuse me, then, when you say immediately adjacent,
Well, the pipe comes out of the wall, so,
okay, so, but I did notice that from the plan, the previous plan, the first plan, to the revised plan, that the shower actually, so on the first plan, I got to write the right pair of glasses on here, because this is very small. But on the first plan, the proposal was, the corner of the shower was proposed to be 4.9 feet to the property line. And that was the October 23rd plan. So now, when we get to the January 23rd plan, that's been reduced to 4.1 feet. So the shower enclosure is actually slightly moved away from the building. In the first instance, it was not directly against the building anyway. So there's some kind, I mean, there's a need for exhaust pipe or some such thing, I don't know, but it
I don't think
shifted.
so. But what I'm prepared to suggest is that the outside wall, the wall closest to Ms. Redmond's property, will be no closer to Ms. Redmond's property than the edge of the deck leading to the shower.
Well, I'd like to actually ask a few more questions about, so the shower, and I'm not sure in answering Sarah's question, whether I understand this, is the shower, is the base of the shower going to be essentially at grade?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so now Jay tells me that it can't be higher, the surround can't be any higher than 6 feet. Otherwise, it would not be able to be in the setback. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Well, it is according to the town's interpretations. It has, so if the shower is at grade, the floor of the shower is at grade, then the fence or its surround cannot be higher than 6 feet above the grade. Is that correct, Jay?
Jay, please.
Yeah, so we treat this type of scenario as a fence right out of the bylaw. So fences under 6 feet in height are exempt from the setback.
Okay,
So if it's over 6 feet, it needs to meet the setback.
okay, okay.
And we measure from grade to the top of the panel.
And just to clarify something
Yep.
that I think might be helpful.
Yeah.
So right now, they're looking to be 5.6 feet from the neighbor's property, whereas last time it was 4 point something.
That's to the structure. Now, the shower is not, then the shower is not being considered structure. So the shower actually from the original, so the original plan showed, right, 4.7 feet to the deck. They're now saying that with this, I'll just call it a little bump out on the deck in order to get to the shower, is 5.6.
That's correct. I
That's
just
what
wanted
they're,
to make, yeah.
that's the proposal.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, and so, but the shower is gonna be down a step or 2 rises, probably 1 step, to get to the grade. The deck level we talked about was gonna be, you said is the deck going to be built a step down from the floor level of the house?
We're not showing any steps.
Right, because you're not showing any steps there. That's why I'm trying to get a picture of this in 3 dimensions in my mind. I did notice that the plan shows the first floor grade, the first floor elevation at 51.8. And I see some contours in here that go up as high as 50, well, there's a 51 contour. 50, 51. So we're anywhere from 1 to 3 rises from that probably 2 rises to the grade in which the shower is proposed to be sited. And if one of those rises is taking place from the back step to the deck level, that helps identify where the deck's going to be. But it's one step down, apparently. You're not showing any steps that I can see, and so it's very confusing. And and you have said that they haven't considered any other location for the shower.
Yeah, and just to refresh memories, last time I did listen to the hearing, and everybody, well, not everybody, except for Mr. Nixon and to an extent Ms. Fenwick, everybody said 11.2 is their drop-dead cutoff. You said you listened to it yourself. So that was really the big thing, that nobody wanted you to get, almost nobody wanted you to get closer than 11.2 to that neighbor. And as I indicated before, you're now asking to get 5.6. Is that right? I just want to just make sure we're,
No. My understanding, and I watched it again today too.
yes.
My understanding was at the end of the meeting, at Ms. Fenwick's urging, there was a general agreement, at least it was my understanding, it was a general agreement, that it was okay to have the deck wrap around the corner of the house to get to the shower, but that the deck going towards the back had to meet 11 feet, 2 inches.
Well, my memory, and I just listened to it as well, is that Mr. Veach, Mr. Acton, Mr. Semple, Ms. Hovey, and Steve DeVore, and myself all said, don't get closer than 11.2 to that neighbor, or we're going to frown on that. Virginia Fenwick had some wiggle room for you in a certain area, and Mr. Nixon was happy with it as presented. So I just wanted to just lay that out there for you for a minute.
Well, perhaps we should take a straw poll and see where we are, because
No, I'm
my
gonna
understanding is that nobody had an objection to the walk around
Right,
to the
well,
shower.
And if I misquoted anybody, I'm sure they're going to let me know, and I'm a big girl. So I'm just going to go to Ms. Fenwick now and let her ask you
Well,
questions,
let me,
if that's
I
okay.
agree that everybody said 11.2
Right.
feet.
We did.
But my understanding was, based on the interaction between Ms. Fenwick and I,
Yeah.
was it was okay to have a walk around to the shower.
That was her. So let's let her speak now for herself. And I did not say she said 11.2 was a drop-dead number for her. However, I did mention many other people that did say that. And as you know, you need two is too many for you. So 2 no's is too many. Ginny, please.
This is questions or clarification?
Questions.
Okay. All right, I too kept my notes from last time, so I have notes about what Mrs. Redmond said. I'm in agreement, Mr. Riley, with what you said, that I said. So my question was similar to Mr. Veach's, which to me, it looks like, well, let me back up. My note said that Mrs. Redmond agreed to, the neighbor approves the addition. That was, and she said the same thing today. The shower, she approved if it's in the same spot and the same size, no objection. Okay, now it does look to me like it's the same size, but it has shifted to the right a little bit. And you can see it goes from 4.9 to 4.1. And then Mrs. Redmond also said that the deck did not want the deck to go back that far and go within 4.7 of the. And what I drew in my drawing last time, or on the site plan last time, which doesn't mean that's what everyone agreed to, it could just be what I was thinking, was, yes, the step out from the shower was deck, and it went a little bit over, and then it cut in, and the back part was cut off, which, because of the way the land is sloping, created the 11.2, with the exception of the part that's by the outdoor shower.
So your drawing is similar to that?
Yes. Except for the top part, yeah, yes, my drawing is similar to that jog from the shower to sliding over so that you could turn and get to the body of the deck on the left-hand side. But I do agree that the shower has shifted. Now, what we've heard Mrs. Redmond say today is she now objects to the shower because it's not in the same location. That's what I heard.
Right, and it is in the same location, but the enclosure is larger.
Okay. Oh, the enclosure is larger. All right, well, it's saying the outdoor shower is 6'6" by 6'6". Is that not?
Right, so, well,
It's,
nobody brought up the size of the enclosure at the last meeting, so
yeah,
I'm a little, but, you know, the shower is in the same location, the enclosure is larger. As David noted,
okay.
it's 6.5 by 6.5, and he measured it as basically 39
By 6 feet.
yeah, something like that. And so, if that's a concern for everybody, I can say that we would bring the enclosure in so it's no closer to the property line than the line of the deck going back to the enclosure. So what we would do, if this is a concern, is that the enclosure would be a continuation of this line. So it would be no closer than this part of the deck. Assuming that part of the deck's approved. I mean, you know, so,
Well, that was another, the other small change that I saw was the original portion of the deck that went from the shower was 4 feet. The new drawing says it's 5 feet, so that's a small change.
okay, I don't
Do
recall,
you see the 5 feet right there?
I don't recall, I don't recall that discussion.
Yeah, well, I don't know that we discussed it, but I'm just saying, it did get larger there, and the previous one was 4. I have in my notes that the shower enclosure did not get larger, it's 6'6" by 6'6", but what is changed is it has shifted over closer to Mrs. Redmond, and that may be what she's referring to. The site plan says it's now 4'1", and in the previous, it was 4'9", the corner of the shower.
Okay, it wasn't supposed to change.
Okay, well, good, because if it can change back to what it was, then maybe, I don't want to speak for Mrs. Redmond, the neighbor, but she said last time that shower, if it's in the same spot and the same size, had no objection. Okay, sorry, that was more than a couple questions, but.
Who didn't ask questions yet? That wants to?
Yeah, that would be the.
Yeah, there, did you want to?
I have no questions.
Can I just ask one more question?
If it's a question, yes.
So, Bill, I just couldn't help but take a look around at, on the other side of the proposed addition. And I see a spot on the wall there, in between, some sets of windows. To me, looks like would be a good place to put a shower.
David, we have a shower already in this location. If you're not gonna approve the new enclosure, we'll just leave the shower where it is.
Well, then that would be inside the addition.
It's not inside the
Behind
addition.
it. Yeah, right now, it's behind it, yeah. Right now, it's behind it, and you're
you
moving
know-
to put it on the outside of it.
I don't understand, Bill,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sorry, but the eastern,
Here we go.
that,
It's right
right,
up there.
that
Okay.
side of the shower is within the footprint of the main house.
I agree.
So that's where the addition is proposed to go. So that is within the footprint of the addition.
I agree.
Okay,
All right, so I see it now.
Yeah,
So.
thank you.
yeah, and that's why you were throwing it, it caused concern for everybody, because, you know, we all make mistakes.
We all, yes.
We all do.
and-
But now
and-
you can see, on that picture right up there, the shower is reappearing.
And I happen to
on the
notice,
side
but
of the house.
would you not, I happen to notice that in this other location I'm talking about, you said, well, the shower's there, and then, this other location, I believe it's a bathroom that's on the inside of that wall. Is that not correct?
I have no idea.
Well, let's look at the floor plan.
Is there a reason for that question?
Well, yeah, because Because Bill indicated that, well, it's already in place, but one of the features of a bathroom is that the plumbing is there, located there. So,
Okay, well,
you know,
all right, so,
okay.
if there's no other questions, we're gonna ask
I could,
Paul.
if I could just make a comment.
Okay, and then
So-
that's gonna be the end of your comments, because we're gonna close. Yes, so
I
please, make whatever comments you'd like to make.
So the, so what I would propose from this existing, from the plan we submitted. So if the walkway is now wider than 4 feet, the walkway would be brought back to 4 feet, as was shown on the original plan. The enclosure would not extend past the end of the deck.
Would it be 11.2 away?
No. No, it
Sorry,
would be,
it wouldn't be 11.2 away? It would be closer?
Yes.
Yeah. How close?
11.2 minus 4, minus 5,
so it's 4 feet, so it's
4 feet.
basically be 8, looks like it'd be 8 feet or 8 or 9 feet.
Okay, can we say 9? If it's 9 feet away, that's a lot closer to 11.2. You may have
Yeah, all
you
right,
may have a chance.
Yeah, all right, 9
You
feet.
may, I don't know.
That's fine.
I'm not voting.
9 feet would be fine.
Okay. Good information.
And then the,
You always have the opportunity to put a patio instead of a deck, and then
and then for the privacy fence that Mrs. Redmond would like, we'd propose starting the privacy fence at the forward edge of the shower enclosure and extending back about 2/3 of the length of the yard. So past the end of the deck, substantially past the end of the deck.
okay, well, Mr. Nixon,
Could I suggest that you start that fence 3 feet closer to the street to give, instead of having it at the edge?
Yeah.
Just 3 feet, it gives a little more privacy?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
well, we're not going to get a chance to speak to to Teresa Redmond, I think it is, or anything, but I can read body language, so we'll have to see about that in a few minutes. All right, anything else, Mr. Riley?
No.
Okay. All right, so Paul, close the hearing? Unless you have a question.
Yeah, I guess I do have a question.
All right,
because
great.
I think the way it's been left right now, I'm a little unclear as to whether, are you suggesting that there's going to be a 4-foot walkway as opposed to a 5-foot walkway coming on the deck to the outdoor shower?
Yes.
And if that's the case, then your distance from the property line is going to be 7 feet? Or 6'9"?
It looks like that.
So it'll be 6 and change, right?
Yeah.
And your proposed outdoor shower will be,
Oh, wait, so the corner of the house is, so this is the end of the shower closest to the street, is 12.8 feet. So the shower enclosures we're proposing, 4 feet wide, the same width as the deck leading to it. So that means you would subtract, so that would be 8.8 feet from the sideline at the corner closest to the street. And it would be, maybe a half a foot closer, because it gets closer as you move back. But it would be 8.8 feet at the corner of the addition in the house.
So Instead of 11.2, it would be 8.8?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, instead of 11.2, it'll be 8.8. So when Paul's done, I'm going to bring the neighbor back, because we didn't
Sure,
close the
fine.
hearing yet.
Absolutely.
And we'll see what,
After this discussion,
we might as well,
this is absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, it's people's property, so you know how that is.
Yeah, I understand.
Biggest, ugliest fights in court, brother, sister, and neighbors. Probably tied for bad,
I love my brothers and I love my neighbors, so.
yeah,
But then,
yep, yeah. Paul?
All right, well, so where we're at is, you're talking about extending the fence another 3 feet or so towards the road from where the edge is of the outdoor shower.
that's correct.
And you're talking about a walkway to the outdoor shower from the deck that's approximately, that is 4 feet,
Correct,
right?
correct.
And so your outdoor shower container is not going to be the 6x5 by 6x5.
Correct. It would be 6 by 5 by 4 feet.
So the 6x5 dimension will be running from the roadside to the backyard.
To the deck, right.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'll, unless there are
No,
other.
I'm gonna, with my question, I'm gonna ask the neighbor to come back and just let us know where she's at. Not that, we still have to vote based on the criteria, and it's the extent of the change in nonconformity, not just that there's a nonconformity that's getting perhaps more nonconforming. It's the extent of it. So this is less extensive, correct? It's
Wait,
not.
I don't know, I don't really.
Okay, so what I mean is, right now, it's 11.2 feet away from your house, and what they're proposing now, they came in with 5.6, and now they're saying maybe 8.8 away from you, unless I have this wrong. What, is that,
I
for the
have to-
shower?
I would actually have to look at the
For
numbers.
the shower,
The shower.
yes.
Can someone put the numbers back up, or the
Yeah,
plan with the numbers? Yeah.
yeah.
So with the extension, it's saying, it's got,
Use the pointer,
oh, I don't know how to use this thing.
Yeah, you just point.
like this.
Okay,
Push that little button.
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, so this is 12.8. The whole issue is the house sits diagonal on the property. So if you wanted to do the straight line, as you go back towards my backyard, it gets closer in a straight line. So it makes it very difficult to put a bunch of stuff on this side of the house and not encroach on my property line. They have a whole yard on the other side and in the back to do stuff. Seems to me like they're trying to cram everything in right on the side of the house.
I agree.
You asked me about the numbers. I'm a numbers person.
Yeah, great.
I need to study it to really understand it better. But in general, I still think that shower sitting right outside my front door is way too close for privacy concerns.
And-
Whether it's 11.2 feet or 9 feet or 8.5 feet,
Right.
still too close.
And though, that if it was 11.2, then, it's no closer than the property is to you now.
Right.
Yeah,
That's why I'm fine with that,
yeah.
as long as the fence is up.
So anything closer than that,
Anything closer than 11.2, I'm objecting.
okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yep. All right, so if you're done, Mr. Riley, we'll close the hearing and move to deliberations. And then we can take a straw vote if you'd like.
All right, so can we just run over the numbers one more time?
You're gonna have to do another plan if we
just
allow it
please
anyway,
stop
so,
Now, what I'd like to do, assuming we can vote today, is that we would submit a plan
yes,
after the vote.
right,
So what we're proposing
yes,
is that we'd be allowed to have a walkway back to the shower. It would be 4 feet wide. The shower enclosure would be no closer to Miss Redwell's property than the walkway. So it would be 4 feet wide, 6 feet long, but only 4 feet wide. And then the deck, once you get past the little walkway to the shower, would be 11-2 and would stay that way. We'd have a fence that would start at least 3 feet closer to the road than the shower enclosure. It would extend back about 2/3 of the way, but definitely well after the end of the proposed deck.
But at the end of the day with this, the walkway and the shower are closer than 11.2, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so with that, why don't we close the public hearing?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach,
Dave Veach enthusiastically seconds and votes yes.
very good.
Ed votes yes.
All votes yes?
Steve?
Steve votes yes.
And
Ginny
Ginny,
votes
very
yes.
good. Okay, deliberations. Why don't we just go to Paul first?
Okay, well, you're, with your proposals, you're not going to be 11.2 or more away from the property line. You are going to be more consistent with the last hearing that we had, which would put the deck at approximately 8 feet, 7 feet rather, away from the property line. And going back towards the back of the yard, you're still going to be approximately 6 feet away from, or maybe 7.6 feet on the first corner of the deck away from the property line, and then cutting in and going back to the 11.2. So your 11.2 really only exists at the very end of the proposed deck towards the backyard, as I understand it.
No,
And we're not gonna entertain anything further from the non-board members, but Sarah's actually gonna clarify that, not to your advantage, Mr. Applicant, but go ahead.
So, Paul, if they're reducing what I'm understanding, the proposal is the walkway to the deck will be reduced to 4 feet in width. So if the current setback to the proposed walkway deck is 5.6, they're taking a foot off of it, it would go to 6.6
Yes.
rather than 8.
Okay.
Okay, so Paul, can we,
Yeah, well, I
what do you
guess,
think, how do you think you'd vote?
I guess when I'm looking at it now, it seems to me it is going to be a problem in terms of the increase of the nonconformity there. So I'm heading towards saying no, based on that initial proposal.
Okay, and Ed?
So the existing setback is 12.8. We're allowing you to go to 11.2 because it makes sense, it squares off the house. But anything less than that does not have my vote.
Dave?
Yeah, that's the way I thought I presented my feelings
Yes,
at the last meeting.
it is.
And can I just point out one more thing here? And I mean, I would prefer that they move the shower somewhere else, as Ms. Redmond has indicated. I would like to point out that the walkway to the shower, that extension of the deck, is not necessary. If you took off from the corner of the 11.2-foot corner and made the deck parallel to the property line, it would remain at the 11.2 feet. And at that point, without that walkway, it's one step down to the grade. that walkway is up less than 8 inches from the grade, according to this, you know, so that extension that's getting even closer to 2 isn't necessary.
Okay.
So I can't support this. I'm toying with the idea of proposing a condition that shower not be located there.
Okay, well, you might not have to worry about.
Well, the shower, apparently, let's see if I'm thinking clearly. If the shower meets the fencing requirements even at the size that they've proposed, by the bylaw, it can be there because it's not considered a structure. So they can put it there unless we say they can't.
Okay, so, sounds like you're a no, it sounds
I'm a
like
no,
Mr.
yeah.
Acton would be a no, it sounds like Paul may be a no. Ginny, where are you going with your deliberations?
I think what has been proposed is an improvement to what was here last time, and I didn't like how the deck went all the way back and went within 4.7, but again, I go back to the notes I have, no objection to the addition, no objection to the shower if in the same spot. We've improved the location of the shower, I believe. And the deck, my notes say that 4.7 was way too close, which we all agreed that it was, but the proposed plan is substantially improving that. So
And you're consistent with what you said last time?
Yes, I'm
Yes, you are.
consistent, yep.
Steve? If you are voting, so what say you?
Well, I don't like too much of anything of the way that this is being proposed. The elevated deck, even with the 6-foot fence, affords no privacy whatsoever. Anybody who's standing on that deck can see over into the neighbor's property without any issues. The shower doesn't need to be there. If you're going through the trouble of adding an addition, you can move that shower anyplace. You need a plumber, that's it. The stairs, instead of having the deck come around and stepping down into the shower, the steps could be made at the corner, the back corner of the addition, and just have a gravel path to go into the ground level shower. So that might eliminate that whole issue of having that deck leading to the shower.
So you'd probably
I
vote
think it's
no?
also way too close to the property line. I wouldn't vote for
You
that.
would vote no, okay. Lee? If you were voting?
If I were voting, I am afraid I would have to say we need to go back to the drawing board.
And Mr. Nixon, you liked it last time. You probably still like it.
Still like it.
Okay.
Yeah, if I was voting, I'm looking at what we have now, okay? And what's proposed, particularly with the privacy fence and so forth. This actually is an improvement for the neighbor over what's there now because of the fence. And yes, it could be closer and all that kind of stuff, but I think overall, is this substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, not just one house? The neighborhood. Absolutely, it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
And I'm not voting, but I think it's a nice-looking addition, I do. And it's no, you don't get to talk, Mr. Riley.
Sure I do, because you're going to say, what are you going to do? So I'm going to
I
tell
know,
you what
but
I'm
I'm
going to do.
okay, so, all right, I won't talk, go ahead. We'll
We'd
let
be
you
happy
talk.
to accept the condition that nothing be closer to the property line than 11 feet 2 inches.
Nothing as in zero things, nothing in any way, shape, or form? I think you have,
Well, we're talking about the deck,
well, we're talking about any structures.
right? But a shower enclosure is not a structure, but that's, but the deck,
Yeah, but it's part of the application, and there's not even any showers allowed in Chatham, as we all know, so it's kind of a funny thing here. It's a fiction.
my condition would be no structure is closer to the property line than 11 feet 2 inches.
I don't think that's,
11.2 feet.
that's not gonna fly. If you wanna come back with a new plan, for us to consider that's,
Well, I think you should take a vote on my proposal.
take a vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, sure. All right, are we ready to do that? Yes. So we need a motion.
Oh, but that still includes the fence. So nothing closer than 11.2 feet, but a fence comes out.
But
3
that
feet
shower's
closer to
still
the
there.
street than
The
the-
shower's still there.
Well, whether the shower's there or not, there's still going to be a privacy fence there.
I know, but I don't think we like it. I mean, I think the people have spoken. The board has spoken. We can vote. If Paul can come up with a motion that makes sense. I don't know if he, it's not his fault.
Well, I guess I guess
We do.
you've left me a little confused, Bill, when you say nothing is going to be closer than 11.2. What you're saying is that there's going to be no decking closer than 11.2, and that it's going to run from the corner of the proposed addition to where it's located at 11.2 on the site plan?
Yes.
And there's going to be no 6x6 proposed outdoor shower?
Correct.
And that if there is any shower there, I take it it's going to be it's not going to be considered a structure, so you're simply going to comply with those regulations?
Whatever the regulations are.
Yep. All right, well, I'll move to approve the application with that, with those changes.
But also including
Subject
the
to
privacy
submission
fence.
of the
Wall.
privacy fence plan and the plan for the deck as revised by Mr. Riley orally.
Dave Veach?
Dave Veach will second, but vote no.
Okay, Ed?
Ed will vote yes.
Okay. Paul?
Paul, vote yes.
Please, Steve, sorry, I'm looking right at you.
Without seeing another set of plans, I would vote no.
And Ginny?
I vote yes.
So that loses. Sorry.
Well, then I'd ask for a continuance so we can provide the plan.
Was that a straw vote?
Sure.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't, though. It wasn't. It wasn't a straw vote, but, if you come back with another plan, I suppose we could bend that,
Randy, the,
withdraw without prejudice. All right, we're gonna have to ask you to withdraw without prejudice.
All right, thank you.
Yep. That's the best we can do for you.
I'll move to grant the requested withdrawal without prejudice.
Nope, I'm sorry.
This is the tail wagging the dog. These people want to get going on their house improvements.
They should have come back with a patio.
What?
They should have come back with a patio. Maybe it would have been easier.
Yeah, maybe it would have been, but we were left with the impression that as long as it was 11.2 feet, it would be fine.
and it wasn't 11.2 feet.
Yeah. It's not, though, so.
Well, we were following the recommendation of one of your members.
Yeah, one of our members, but we happen to have
I
a.
understand that, but.
All right, I'm gonna stop it, because
No,
we all
I'm
heard
gonna-
everything, and
no,
this-
I'm going to ask you to approve the house, and we'll withdraw the request for the deck.
can we do that? I don't know if I have to see if we can even do that. Can we?
The board could approve just the rear addition and the dormers associated work. If there is an outdoor shower, I know that either the inspector or commissioner will most likely require that that be dimensioned on any site plan for the building permit, as well as an as-built with details on it. So it's something that it's up to the board, but it is within the realm of the legal advertisement.
I'm gonna let Dave Nixon speak to that.
Well, yeah, before we're turning this around, and that's okay, but we have taken a vote. It wasn't a straw vote. And to all of a sudden say the vote didn't count, I don't think we have that in our power to do that, that the vote has to stand.
We're trying to give you a break by saying that you can
appreciate
withdraw
that.
without prejudice. That's the best we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the only way we could justify that is to say that that motion was requested before you declared the vote. You didn't announce you have lost 3-2. And that's the only way I think we can get around that. Would you agree to that, Sarah?
I would.
Okay.
Good.
So I'll move to grant the requested withdrawal without prejudice.
David seconds and votes yes.
Ed Acton votes yes.
All votes yes.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, well, and I also appreciate everybody standing by their word, because that's the only way we're going to have any credibility, and that you all did a perfect job on that. Everybody stood by what they had originally said, and I appreciate that. Okay, so with that, motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
David seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
All votes yes.
Lee?
I vote yes.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes
As
yes.
do I, and it is what time?
6:25 PM.
And good night, Chatham.